not made its case, and therefore, I should be acquitted. The charges should be essentially, well, I don't know if the charges should be dropped, but that I was not guilty. He had not proven guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, and there was no need for me to present a defense because he just hadn't made any kind of case at all. And so the judge explained this to me, and I said, well, actually, I'd like to present a defense. I wanted to actually, through presenting a defense, show how Jeremy Searle and Val Bourdon, and to some extent the SPVM, and certainly the Unitarian Church of Montreal, had misused Section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code in malicious prosecution, which sought to force an end to my protest. I hope that through further questioning of Val Bourdon and Jeremy Searle, and perhaps the police officers involved, that I could establish that this was an abuse of the Canadian Criminal Code in an effort to suppress my ability to exercise my constitutionally guaranteed civil rights and freedoms. And the judge agreed to my being able to present a defense. He set a date in December of 2003, so I was expecting to be able to present a defense in December. And when the trial date, was coming near, I went to the court just to make sure everything was on track. And the court clerk said, no, you've been acquitted, Mr. Edgar. There's no trial, there's no defense. You were acquitted back in April. And I said, what? And what happened is without my knowledge, the Crown prosecutor, who, obviously did not want me presenting a defense where he and the whole court system and the SPVM, to say nothing of the Unitarian Church of Montreal, were not going to look very good. He, a few days after, that call for motion non suit, he went back to the judge and made a motion for an acquittal, and the judge granted it. So the judge basically kind of went back on his promise of allowing me to present a defense. And unfortunately, I was never properly, I should have been able to be there, I should have been able to object, but I was never properly served papers by a bailiff to notify me of that court date, so I didn't even know about it. So that was another mess up on the part of the court system. So anyhow, I was acquitted, and it was total bullshit, essentially, and took the better part of 3 years to certainly 2.5 years to be acquitted of bullshit criminal charges that were brought against me in December 2000. And then we can go back a bit, because in between my arrest in 2000 and the acquittal, there were various SPVM interventions where they were still trying to, in one way or another, persuade me to end my protest, various tickets and so on. Most ironically, I believe it was in the spring of 2001, so a few months after I'd been arrested, there was a Queen's Counsel lawyer who was attending the Unitarian Church of Montreal. I didn't know this at the time, and I suspect that he was involved in this effort to misuse Section 176.3 of the Canadian Criminal Code to shut down my protest. I suspect that he gave legal advice to the church to that effect. In any case, what happened is this tall guy who I'd seen him before, but I didn't know who he was or anything. He comes by, and he's walking this way, and down where that picket sign is, near the tree, I had, my plastic bag that I bring my picket signs in. It was a blue recycling bag at the time. So he grabs my bag and starts walking towards the church with it. I said, that's my bag for my picket signs, you know, please give it back. And he said, no, that's trash, I'm getting rid of it. You know, he was just basically being a jerk. I said, no, that's my sign, you know, that's my, the bag that I bring my picket signs in, and I need it to, you know, leave with them and give it back. And I had, I put the picket sign that I had in my right hand in my left hand like this. So I got 2 picket signs in my left hand like this, and my other hand is out, you know, palm up, you know, give me the bag kind of thing. So what does he do? He gives me the bag, and at pretty much the same time as giving me the bag, he snatches the 2 picket signs out from my left hand. So now he's got 2 of my picket signs in his hand, and he swishes the picket signs behind his back, so I cannot easily retrieve them. Now he's got 2 of my picket signs. So I tell him, well, you know, give me back my picket signs. And no, I'm confiscating them, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember his exact words specifically, but essentially his argument was, no, you have no right to do this, and I'm confiscating your picket signs, you know. And I said, well, you know, if you confiscate my picket signs, if you go into church with my picket signs, I'm going to call 911 and report a theft. And it was at that point where he came out about being a Queen's Counsel lawyer. He did not give me his name at the time. He just said, oh, I'm a Queen's Counsel lawyer, and, you know, nothing's going to happen. You know, you can do whatever you want. And he didn't, you know, those weren't his exact words, but that was the upshot of what he said. He basically, his position was that because he was a hotshot Queen's Counsel lawyer, i.e. an elite lawyer, that, you know, he could pretty well do whatever he wanted and there'd be 0 consequences with the law, that he, you know, that he could sort of wiggle his way out of anything, you know, at minimum, or nothing at all would happen. I took a step towards him to see if I could grab my picket signs back, and at that point he walked towards me, put his other arm out, the one that didn't have the picket signs in it, and he shoved me in the chest, and he actually shoved me back a good, I'd say at least 10, 15 to 20 feet. He shoved me back from around here. I was about where this square is, and he shoved me all the way back to where the garbage thing is. At the time, if I remember correctly, there was a post. I think it was a lamp post, actually. And he shoved me up against the post. I guess they moved the post because of the tree issue. In any case, so he shoved me up against the post, somewhat forcefully, I'd say. And I said, well, that's assault. You know? I mean, it wasn't the worst assault in the world, but it was technically assault. And so I told the guy, look, you know, if you don't give me back the picket signs, I'm not just going to have you charged with theft, I'm going to have you charged with assault as well. He just sort of laughed it off. He was sure nothing would happen, you know, that he'd be able to wiggle out of anything. And he went into church with my picket signs. So I called the SPVM. I think that was the first time ever that I called the SPVM, and I called 911. There was a payphone not too far away. I used the payphone. I called 911, and I got the dispatcher, and I told the dispatcher what had happened. I said I want to report a theft, and I said a minor assault. You know, nothing serious, but it was assault. I said I want to you know, have this person charged with theft and assault. You know, and ideally I wanted police to go in the church and get my picket signs. So sometime later the police show up, and they ask what they, you know, what I want them to do. And I said, well, I want you to arrest this guy for theft and assault. And they said, well, if we go in the church and we get your picket signs back, will you drop the charges? I said, yes, I think I agreed to that. So they went into the church, looking for the guy who stole my picket signs. And they came out, so many minutes later, saying they were unable to find him. What did I want to do? I said, well, I want to have him charged with theft and assault. And they said, will you drop the assault charge and just to leave it at theft? And being the agreeable kind of guy I am, I said yes, which I should not have done. They were basically playing a little trick on me. It turns out that they are not obliged to act upon theft under 5,000 or whatever, small theft. They're not obliged to act on it. They're not obliged to go and arrest the person for such a small theft. But they are obliged to arrest the person for assault. And I didn't know that. And this was clearly they were trying to avoid having to arrest the guy. That was basically, as far as I'm concerned, not doing their job properly. So anyway, I initially agreed to that, but then I got on the internet and I spoke about what happened in a internet forum that existed at the time. And all of these American Unitarian Universalists were saying, no, you should have the guy arrested. Now, they didn't know that legal technicality. They were just essentially saying, no, he assaulted you. Yes, it was but it was assault, and you should arrest him. He should be arrested for that, and he should face the consequences, So as a result of their encouraging me to have the guy arrested, I did exactly that. I called the police back. I said, no, I want to bring assault charges against him as well. And so as a result of that, he actually was arrested. And to wrap this up, because we're getting to the end of the tape, it's almost over, this section. Essentially what happened is, quickly, he did quite a bit of wiggling, I think. A lot of things didn't happen that should have happened, but in the end what did happen is I got a letter from the court saying that Kenneth Howard QC had been subjected to what's called non-judicial treatment for his criminal acts. So he had in fact copped a plea, and his criminal acts were recognized as just that.